Welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. I'm Grant. I'd mentioned in a previous video I'm kind of doing a marathon of unboxings today. We've been fortunate to be provided a couple of games by publishers recently and also spent quite a bit of money on games at WBC and Gen Con. So we're going to go ahead and try to get those unboxed. One, I'm excited to get them punched, clipped, organized, and learn the rules so that we can play them soon. And then two, I want to make sure I share them with you, particularly newer games. So this is one of our newer games. I bought this at WBC from Compass Games. This game appeared on my top 10 war games, anticipated war games of 2018. I think I did it in January. So the game is Montelimar, and I'm probably saying that incorrectly. It's French. The Anvil of Fate. This is an offering in the CSS system, or company scale system. The designer is Adam Starkweather, and the artist is Antonio Pinar. We did an interview with Antonio a year and a half ago after he had done maps for Saipan, which I own. Saipan was the first game in the company scale system, and Alexander has bought the follow-up volume to that series called Guam. I think it's called Day of Glory, which is also the CSS system. So this is the CSS system now being converted and used in the European theater of World War II. So pretty exciting. Liberation, Volume 1. So that tells you they're going to plan and do a couple of volumes in this series. But Montelimar, the Anvil of Fate, is a new game. I think it came out about 6 weeks ago or so. So I'm getting this now and trying to unbox it. This is a 2-inch box. Compass Games does a great job with their games. I don't think there's a doubt about that. I bought this for $80 at WBC. I think the list price is $120. I bought it on the last day of the con, and they had dropped the prices slightly, and because we bought a couple of games, they gave us a good deal, which was awesome. But here, let's look at it. The complexity on a scale out of 10 is about a 6. Playing time, there are scenarios that can be played in less than 2 hours. I think there's also scenarios that are 30 and 40 hours. I think the full campaign game is, as you can see there, 50 plus hours. I'm going to be honest, I don't know that we're ever going to get in the full campaign, but never say never, right? There are 5 22 by 34 inch maps. They are huge. There are 1,056 counters and pieces. Solitaire rating, though, is high. There's only a little or almost no hidden information. The system used is a chit pull, so kind of cool. I may try to do this solo a little bit. But this is the third game of the company scale system, like I mentioned before, CSS Saipan and CSS Guam. But it is the first volume of the Liberation series, covering the battles of France and Germany in 1944 and 1945. So that's what we can look forward to with this series. And let's just give you a real quick look there. As the Allies advanced out of the Operation Dragoon Bridgehead, they suffered from too much success. All of southern France lay before them, and where next was debated in the Allied High Command. With indecision also came several supply shortages that accompany rapid advance. So the Allies then, on August 21st, moved to secure the high ground north of Montelimar, blocking the entire 19th Army's escape route. At first, just a small task force blocked the way, and while pressed hard, they barely held until Allied reinforcements entered the fray. So this is going to be a battle between the Germans and the Americans. There are tanks involved. Here, I'll show you some of those counters really quick. You can see the cool tank counters. These are support weapons, which I find to be absolutely fantastic in the game. And then there's a ton of different administrative. You can see there's air support, trenches. There's disorganized markers, which makes it harder to attack. There's heavy barrage, even hero counters. So this system is very well done. We enjoyed Saipan quite a bit and cannot wait to play this and Guam. So we'll go ahead and open it up. It comes with 10-siders. I love war games that use 10-siders. It's fairly common now. To me, 10-siders are very swingy. Six-siders, you can kind of calculate the reasonable odds of what's going to happen. We played Holland 44 a couple of months ago, and I generally knew I was not going to do as much damage because I knew I was going to roll 3s or 4s. But 10-siders, man, you can have some awesome rolls, and then you can have some really pitiful rolls. But it does come with a couple of 10-siders, a green and a gray one. Americans, Germans, very well done. Here is the rule book. The rule book isn't really that thick, to be honest. I read the entire CSS Saipan rule book in about 2 hours. Doesn't mean I got it all, but I did read it in about 2 hours. So there's 40 pages, sorry. Some of that is introduction, but they have good examples of play, different formations, stacking limits, how to move. I'll show you the terrain on the maps, but it's very cool. What you need to focus on with the terrain is these colored dots in the center. You can kind of tell what the terrain is by what's around it, but you really need to focus on the colored dots because from time to time they will mix terrains, and it is unclear what the terrain is by just looking at the picture. You're going to have to actually focus on that dot, and I'll show you that on one of the player aids a little bit later. Here's an example of ridge fire, elevation, different firing up and down and across slopes and down slopes, etc. Great examples all the way throughout it, and that's what I mean. It's a 40-page rule book, but really, to be honest, they use a lot of great scenarios, and I think the rules are going to end up being about 30 pages. So I look forward to reading this and getting through that. The next thing you see, great picture on the front, by the way. That's a very iconic picture, and they've used a very interesting art style on it. Looks great, but this is the scenario book. The scenario book is almost 55 pages. It also has some historical information at the back. Once again, I like to play war games that I learned something. Here are setup for the different corps and reinforcement schedules for scenarios. There are quite a few scenarios in here. Let's go ahead and look at the table of contents. Opening blows, the feint. This is probably going to be a learning scenario. Opening blows, strike to the east. This one's a little hard to read. 11th Panzer attacks. Task Force Butler stands alone. The Germans try to push through again. The final battle. Number 7, the campaign game. Here, let me... the campaign game. That's the one that's going to take you 50 hours. And then the French save the day. I don't know that I've read that often in print. Apologies to my French compatriots, but the French save the day. That's great. But anyway, that's a look. Here's a look at the maps. Remember I said 5 maps. So you can see here's a look at each one of the different maps. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get them all out on the table and show you, but I will do my best. But the thing I do like about their scenarios is they have these setup charts. Literally, I'm one of those guys. I'm visual. I put the counters on top here. So I put the counters here, and that way I know that I have the right number of units. And they do a really good job of doing it. Here's a look at scenario 2. Once again, there's a lot of scenarios. And they have a lot of historical flavor on each one of them at the beginning. So you're going to learn as you play. And now we're going to get a look at the multitude of charts and tables. Great looking sequence of play. That's something I remember from CSS Saipan. Made it very easy to follow. You can see they have fatigue in there. It's a double-sided. There's the action phase. Here's the end phase. So very well done, Compass Games. Here is the kind of the turn track, the date, victory point track. Here's those general record tracks for the different divisions. Here you can see you have the 36th Infantry Division and Task Force Butler. Those are single-sided. Here you have the 45th Infantry Division and the 3rd Infantry Division. And once again, it's just the general records track. This is probably going to track reinforcements and points that come back in. And then here's some of the German, the 2nd Panzer, 189th Infantry Division, 338th, and the 198th. And you're going to use these to track. You can see there's a transport pool, so you can move units from one side to the other. There's airstrikes available. The support weapons. I'll talk a little bit about that, but the support weapons are fantastic. So there are actual counters that will be provided in each of the scenario setups. And those support weapons are things like a bazooka, a Panzerfaust, a heavy machine gun, a mortar team, etc. And you can use actions to move those around from company to company as they're up in the front lines. It just takes a turn or so. You literally have to pull it off the unit that has it on the map. You put it in this reallocation box. Then it's going to move to available support weapons the next round or their next turn. And then you can move that up, put it onto a unit, and then they will have a support weapon, a bazooka, a machine gun, a mortar, whatever it might be. When we played CSS Saipan, that was one of my favorite parts. I loved moving those around. It became a tactical puzzle. If they were in certain types of terrain or fortifications, and we played Americans versus Japanese, there were caves, so you needed satchel charges and other type things. You had to move those around. So I really think that's a cool way to handle the support weapons in this system, and something that I found very interesting. Very fun to play and very interactive. They also have, there are two of these, just your basic player aid. You've got your CRT at the top. You've got all your modifiers here on the left. You have assault modifiers. Here's, once again, the sequence of play very clearly outlined. There are random events that are going to come up based on roles and scenarios. You've got route modifiers, other elements, and these are double-sided with the terrain effects chart on the back. Here's where I'm going to put this other one down. Here's one I'm going to show, where I'm going to show you the importance of the dots. So here you have an example of clear terrain. You'll notice in the middle of that clear terrain, let me get up really close, is that really small white dot. Kind of looks gray from here, but it's supposed to be white. The player aid has blown that white dot up. So you can see it is clearly a white dot. So any terrain that has a white dot in the center, whether it has relief of small bushes or whatever, it is clear terrain. And therefore offers these modifiers for movement, for defense, is it blocking? Clear is not blocking. And then there are various notes that you have to read down at the bottom. So once again, let's go back. Woods. You'll notice in the middle of woods, there's a big black dot. Vineyard, there's a green dot with, you'll notice, a white circle around it. So they may use the green dot at some other point. It looks like they didn't. But I remember in CSS Saipan, you would have a green dot and then one that had a white border. So you have to be aware of that because that is different terrain. Here you can see the marsh, airfield, village, town, city, and then you've got the different terrains for trails, paved road, railroad, evacuation road, streams, rivers, slope, steep slope, ridge, etc. Then you got victory hexes, evacuation hexes, etc. But really nice, and this is something that you're going to have to focus on to understand how to play the game, basically. Now we're on to the best part, or the second best part sometimes. I like maps a lot. These are the counter sheets, and there's a bunch of them. There are 6 full counter sheets. Remember, there's almost 1,100 counters. But here's a look at some of the American, and here's those support weapons. So you see a heavy machine gun, bazookas, medium artillery. These are support weapons that you're going to attach to different units, and then you can remove them and move them around to use them with other units in other areas of battle. You've got leaders. You can see here's a leader. You also have heroes. Let me see if I can see a hero. Here's a hero. A hero is in essence going to give you one special ability, a modifier or a re-roll in one combat, and then it's used up. That was something I don't know that I was totally okay with, but once again, it was a bonus that you get and you use it. You've got trucks. This is, once again, combined arms. You got tanks, different things. So here's a look at those American, and you'll notice they're spread. They're divided out by color. So you've got a red stripe, you've got orange and white. Those are different divisions, and you're going to activate those with different chit pulls. Let me show you an example of a chit pull counter. There doesn't appear to be any on that sheet. Give me a second, guys. Sorry about that. So here's some examples of activation counters. They're upside down. Now I've lost them. Yeah, here's 2 examples of activation counters. So you can see they're tied to a specific unit. They have the colored Here you got that purple stripe on them. This one is not a purple, but it's a green unit with that symbol. So you're then going to put that in a cup. You're going to draw that, and you're going to be able to activate those units. Very well done. These counters, I think, are very clean and cool looking, frankly. Here you have some of the Germans. Lieutenant Colonel Cham. Very cool. I'm not going to embarrass myself. And so here's a whole bunch of those activation counters. You can see the different stripes and unit or division or company designations. Very nice counters, multitude of colors. What I would recommend when you punch these out, make sure to organize them quickly. Put them in your tray or put them in small baggies so that they're all together. It is very easy to get one of these counters lost in one of the other bags. And with 1,000 of them, you're going to have trouble. So here's a look at some of the different action counters: smoke, illumination. Here you have different types of fire: no opportunity fire, air support, concentrated fire. Here is a bourbon counter, and this is a trend in these games. In the Saipan, they had sake. You can use sake for some re-rolls. Here I'm assuming bourbon is used for re-rolls as well. I think in Guam, the Japanese can get drunk and have negative modifiers to attacks and fires and assaults, etc. So you got to be careful. It does have actual effects in the game. Here's some other German counters. They have cognac, not bourbon, but cognac. So there you go. Got some fires. You have pill boxes. Really nice counters. And there are a lot of them. It took me probably, 10 to 12 hours for CSS Saipan to get them all punched, clipped, rounded, cleaned up. I had to cut some little nubs off from time to time and then bagged. It was not something that was really easy. All right, guys, so now we're going to go to the maps. Remember, how many maps are there? 5. So, man, I don't know that I'm going to be able to lay out all 5 of the maps, but I'm going to try to do my best to lay out a couple. Give you a close-up of the map, really, just gorgeous. Antonio, very well done. Nice work. You can see the hexes are numbered. Fairly easy to find. Very clear, the names, the different types of terrain. Once again, you can see those dots. This is clear terrain. This is a vineyard. And that's very, very important. So I'm going to go, and they are paper maps. So you're going to need some form of plexiglass. Alexander and I have some big plexi. I don't know that we have big enough plexi to cover up 5 maps, though. I'm going to be honest. But there's a look at one map. I'll go ahead and show another map. It's just impossible for me to lay all these out, guys, and that may be the problem. We may not even be able to play with all 5 maps because there's just too many of them. But you can see here's elevation, just gorgeous. Really like the way that they did those. Very clear roads. The terrain are very, very clear and distinctive. I love the writing style. I just think that stands out so well on these maps. There's a victory point. Here's a victory point, which you can't see, but there's a victory point. I think Antonio did a great job in this game. But I'm very excited about this. And guys, I know you want to see them, but here's the other 3 maps. I just can't possibly lay those out. It's impossible. But that's a look at Montelimar. It's a huge game, guys. Not gonna lie. A little intimidating. A little bit intimidating, but also very, very exciting. I'm excited to get this one to the table. I think that it's going to be a fantastic game. I can't wait to learn it. I can't wait to play it. And I can't wait to report back to you what my thoughts on the game are. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to spread those out because I like to take a picture off the video. I'm going to show those different counters. Boy, there's just so much to show. It's just... So this game normally is $120. So it's a little bit more expensive game, but you can see there's a lot here. Great maps, well-produced counters, fantastic art that is used. I just think they did a great job with the production of this game. So I was fortunate, got it for 80. But I was at WBC and they were selling them on the last day so that they didn't have to carry them home, I'm assuming. So anyway, there you go. Montelimar, the Anvil of Fate, one of the newest company scale system games from Compass Games. Very excited, very glad that I had this opportunity to show it to you. I'm really excited to play this one, so we'll have to get on this. Hopefully by the end of the year, we can play through at least one of the bigger scenarios. We'll try the short scenarios just to learn the rules, but then try to play through some of the bigger scenarios. I'm gonna have to put one, my big boy pants on, and two, we're gonna have to make sure we block out a couple of Saturdays in a row and have a place where we can leave this set up, because I don't think this is gonna be a quick affair. But anyway, there you go. Hope you liked the video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching. I've been Grant for the Player's Aid.